All right, we are live, my furry little friends.
Oh, we're furries today.
Hey,
Okay, I can do this.
That's what I say to Dylan all the time.
Hey,
And
let's get into furries.
is that when he's wearing like
well, yeah, because that's all the time, so
A
it's
cat.
always applicable.
like a cat
Kinky.
head or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's more of a lion.
Wow. I can't tell if you're kidding or not.
You'll never know.
You'll never know.
No, it's way too hot. We're in Vegas this week. It is way too hot for furry outfits, that's for sure.
Never.
Rob, you're used to
Never.
wearing only Speedos. You could not hang with a furry outfit.
Yeah, I'll just have the tail
Mm.
connected to my Speedo.
All right, that works.
Yeah.
The imagery I never ask for on this
But
show.
you'll get. You always.
I always get.
always get.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask. I always give.
God.
Speaking of not asking for things, but I'm going to say it anyway. We are doing a new segment that I'm just coming up with right now while people are getting on.
Yes.
And it's called What Book Are You Reading?
Shoot. Yeah. Yeah.
I have to say, I started reading this Hidden Pictures, and it's been on my list for a while. This is good. If anybody's looking for a good, like, kind of scary thriller, kind of spooky. Whoa, you're finally learning how to read.
Right. I'm gonna do it.
Excited.
And then I'm gonna pair it with the Canadian thesaurus.
Oh, good.
All the words. I'm gonna do all the words.
That's a good pairing. It's like wine and cheese.
Followed by the companion to the Bible.
Oh, perfect. I thought it said the Canadian Bible.
Canadian Bible.
Canadian Bible.
Yeah. Beaver
I'm like,
Jesus.
that's a good one. No, I'm just really excited about this book because I've been looking for a spooky book that's actually kind of spooky, and this one's actually pretty spooky. It's good.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
Mary went through 3.5 books on vacation.
Nice.
I'm like, all right, loser. That's cool.
Oh, how was your guys' trip?
It was really cool in the sense that we got the tail end of the hurricane, and the first night we got there, our room flooded 2 times from rain being blown in. And I was like, no, change our room, man. And they couldn't do it that night. The next morning they changed us, which is great. Every single one of us got hit with some sort of 24-hour bug at different times.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, mine was the best in that I didn't have like I didn't want to eat, but mainly it was like a mixture of chills and fever. And so it was me lying down for 7 hours beside the pool, either in the hot sun or rolling into the shade and then rolling back into the hot sun. Everyone else had like stomach things for the day, which sucks, but I was okay with mine. Mine was pretty good. But NSV, we went zip lining, which was pretty cool in the rainforest, which was really, really fun. Because in my mind, the whole time I was thinking, I was like, there's no friggin' way I could have done this before, right? Like, besides the posted weight limit, I was just like, there's no way I can do this. And I had so much fun doing it. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't scared. I didn't actually think, I expected myself to be like, no, like to have some sort of anxiety because of sort of where we came from and the challenges we had. Oh, he doesn't care.
I'm going to be off of here soon.
Yeah. It'll just be me tonight, guys, until I'm done talking, and then everyone's going to log back in. But yeah, no, it was awesome. It was fun. I was able to do it with my kids, and it's just another one of those things that I could never have done if we hadn't made this change, and I couldn't have experienced this with my family. So it was pretty awesome.
That's great. Murph was not into it, but I'll be here to say
thanks for the support, Shea.
Sorry, man. I pushed.
He's like,
I pushed the button. I don't know what I did.
Yeah. There's the button that says, I don't want to listen to this guy talk anymore.
I just pushed the button. I was like, shit.
I always try to push that button when Rob's talking to you.
I tried to push the button too.
Well, unfortunately.
I'm still without my laptop, so I'm doing it on the phone. And I was like, does this button make the screen bigger? Because you guys are like that, and I
Oh,
can't see
sheesh.
anything. So I was like, does this button make it big? Nope, it takes me out completely. Okay,
Well, it's good
that's
to know.
that's what that button does. All right.
We're still learning after all these
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
We're new, guys. We're new.
We're new.
Yeah.
We're still the new kids on the block.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
How about you guys? Any NSVs?
Yeah. I have one if you want to think about it, Murph. I know this question will get you every time, so I'll give you a couple more minutes to think.
Sure.
Mine's a weird one. So I was looking at my shoes, from the shoes that I wore a lot before surgery, and they're Birkenstocks. And on the outer rim of them, okay, Robert, you nod your head. I wonder if
Yeah.
if you notice too. They are like super worn down to where like I can't even wear them anymore because they're funky. And so I was talking with Dylan about it. I'm like, why were they like this? And so we did like a little experiment, not an experiment, but like he was like, well, like if you had more weight like in your thighs, he's like, if I'm pushing out on your thighs, where does all the weight go? And I'm like, it goes on the outside.
You supinate more.
Yeah, it's wild. So it's like those shoes are just totally worn down. And I was thinking like, gosh, that's so uncomfortable. Like, cause when he was like pushing on my thigh, this sounds weird, but he was like pushing them so I could like see what the weight felt like.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like no wonder I walked like that. And I was like, whoa.
Even if you look at like, if you stand straight and you take a picture of, look at your after pictures, your current pictures of you standing, and look at the alignment of your knees. Look at how straight or how curved they are. Look at your posture and that's a direct correlation to how we would have to stand as a result of the excess volume of tissue, right? And the weight. And all of us have that to some extent. And it's interesting to see that because you would never have thought of that stuff, right?
No. Do you have any shoes like that, Murph, or does that resonate or for you?
I mean, my shoes, I would go through shoes so fast. I mean, it's like I had so much weight, walking on these shoes, and so I'd only buy like the cheap stuff, and I'd have to pitch them. I don't have any of my old shoes at all, but I'm sure if you found them, I mean, the outsides are, I know because I have naturally fat hobbit feet, so like my feet are wide, and so I'm always kind of busting out the side of them, but I all my shoes are brand new and they're comfy, and I don't have foot or ankle or any sort of problems like that anymore. I know that.
And do you not burn through them as quickly either now?
No, I've got the same shoes. I don't need any new shoes. I want to get a new pair of shoes for my new job, but just because like none of them, I've got like Hoka's and like hospital shoes. And so I'm gonna be doing something different. So I want to get some cool shoes.
Nice.
Like this designer shoes, like some pumps or something. I don't know.
Nice. So fancy, this guy.
So fancy.
Sheesh. I have another one.
What?
Last week while I was on vacation, purposely, now I was going to do it anyways, but continue now. So I started my lean bulk for next year. And so every time I start a lean bulk, I sort of panic to myself about like, oh shoot, now I got to eat so much, and then I'm going to gain all this weight, and all this worry because I've been dieting for so long, or even if it wasn't me dieting, but a lot of us are trying to still lose fat, right? And this time there was like no fear. It was sort of just like, I'm super excited about what this next step is. I've earned the ability to try to put on muscle mass, and so I am back to lean bulking. I will be tired of it very soon, I'm sure, because I am so full all the time. But it's going to be a 27-week lean bulk.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
Almost half a year, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Holy shit. Yeah.
Or is it
20? Yeah, 53 weeks.
Yeah.
Sheesh. And then after that, it'll be cutting time all the way until August shows. So committing to just 2 shows next year. And everything is going to go for prepping for that. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I didn't stress out about starting my lean bulk, and I'm happily eating all the food and training with all the energy again. But it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Frosted Flakes?
No.
That's not until closer to the
That's
show.
closer. That's when I need 4 times the amount of carbs that I'm eating currently. I'm eating 400 grams of carbs though. I'm
A
full.
day? Really?
A day. I'm at 3,200 calories. Yeah.
Whoa. That's
Yeah.
wild.
It is. And again, it's relearning, right? Like,
Mhm.
this is stuff that I do with my clients, but at the same time, most of my clients aren't at the point where we're lean eating the same
Mhm.
way. A lot of it is cutting. And if they are, they're significantly lighter than me at the same time. Like Jess, for example, we're going on a lean bulk right after, but her lean bulk won't be like 3,200 calories. It's going to be significantly less. And so, a lot of those practices that we do for dieting, now I have to do it for gaining, right? So it's like, okay, well, how am I going to get all this protein, or how am I going to get 100 grams of carbs? And it's just like, okay, well, am I going to eat rice? Well, no, I can't eat 100 grams of carbs in rice because that's so much. So
Right.
fruits, different like carb supplements,
Mhm.
more, all these different things that I'm trying to fit in. Whereas like I can't just eat like rice and potatoes and bread and
Right,
oatmeal.
right.
Like it's so much.
Mhm.
So again, it's just learning how to navigate with all the different limitations we have. But that's the fun part for me, right? Like
Mhm.
just really understanding what you can do with your body.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, and you think about like 3,200 calories before surgery, or just in general, like you could eat all of that in easier ways, like to meet the calorie mark. Like you go get a cheeseburger,
Yeah.
French fries, and a milkshake, and you're probably getting pretty close to that.
Yeah,
Or like a
for
slice
sure.
of cake at Cheesecake Factory or something like that. But it's so challenging to eat like highly nutritious food to get that high of an amount. It's like, that's a lot.
Yeah, because the volume is so high in that sense versus like if we were to eat like burgers and pizza and ice cream and all that, like, yes, you're going to get the calories. Yes, I can hit that pretty easily because that's how a lot of us gain a lot of the weight.
Mhm.
But again, like you said, it's not very nutritious. When you replace those with nutritious sources, that's a lot of volume, right?
Mhm.
So it's okay. Well, how do I reverse all the things that I've currently been doing with cutting? So how do I get rid of like, oh, I'm using skim milk, or I'm using, no sugar added this or sugar free this, and now it's just like, oh, I wish I could eat more of those things. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm having higher fat milk. I'm having, 2% milk, or I'm having cheese again. I'm having all these different things, and it's again learning that it's okay to do that and
Mhm.
with a plan and a very specific purpose, and being just very intentional about that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Hi, Cheryl.
You guys feel free to put your NSVs in. I saw a cool one from Anna Banana today where she had said she went outside of the gym. She went out with a sports bra and like workout shorts. And I was like, oh, I resonate with that one.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
that is a good one. I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
With your sports bra
Yep.
and your Speedo.
Yep. You know what? So I remember the shit outfit that we wore. I
Mhm.
found mine. I was like, I'm gonna wear this to the gym and see what people say.
Yeah.
I won't, but
It's a nice thought.
it's a nice thought. They're comfortable shorts, I will say that.
Yeah, they are really comfy. I like
And I
those.
feel like I could rock a crop top.
I feel like just wear the shorts. I don't think that would look weird.
I think it'll look weird. Don't get me in trouble.
Oh yeah, it's me. You have to worry about. Me and Murph are the ones that get people in trouble. Yeah, right.
Correct. Sharky Chicky. Oh no, not an SV, but recovering from infected hernia surgery. Oh my gosh, I hope you get better soon. Wishing you a speedy recovery. Cheryl listening from the gym. Okay. All
Mhm.
right.
She was on our book club meeting last night and she was making wonton soup. And I was like, that sounds good. It was funny though, because she was cooking and she had like black plastic gloves on. And, you know, she works at a lab. So we all thought she was like collecting specimens because her black background was like blurred. And it turns out she was actually cooking.
I'm
But
just making wonton soup. Oh.
yeah. What's been your guys' favorite like recipe of the week or something? And this is for anybody, but like, have you guys made anything fun or something that you really enjoyed that you ate this week? Rob, you have a lot of things to choose from, so
Wonton soup.
you wish.
I do wish. Honestly, do you know what I've been eating a lot of? It's not even a recipe, but it's something I've been introducing. And you've seen me eat this at the show, but I would never eat it outside of needing these
Rice
calories. Yeah, apple cinnamon rice cakes with honey on top. And it's literally like I eat my meal and then I take out 2 or 3 rice cakes and a bottle of honey. And I was at work today, and so I was in a meeting the whole time. It was a all-day meeting, and my colleagues are just staring at me as I finish my lunch, and then I take out this bag of rice cakes and then just smothering it with honey. They're like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "Yeah, sorry."
We're gonna have to start calling you Pooh Bear.
Right? Do it. Well, at least you're saying Pooh Bear, not just Pooh.
Well, we've been calling you Pooh for a while. We can upgrade you to Pooh Bear.
Erin, thank you. 2 hours past her bedtime, but she misses us. Edamame is Cheryl's go-to this week.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, we're doing teriyaki chicken, rice, and then mixed veggies. And I put some edamame in the mixed veggies. I'm excited.
Ooh, hello, Savannah. Autumn, having a slight rough time. Yesterday I had my appointment, lost 80 pounds. I'm now 227. That is freaking awesome. Congratulations. Been told not to eat a bunch of food. My dietitian said I'm going good, but I could do better, do portion control. How long has it been since your surgery, though, Autumn? Like losing 80 pounds it hasn't been super long. So, yes, it's going good, but could it be better? I don't know. How can you argue with I lost 80 pounds, right? Like that's February 11th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the dietitian, but I would be pretty proud of yourself. That's awesome. Drink more water. Yeah, of course. Drink more water and eat more veggies. Sure. Because you need fiber. Pooh brings us all together.
Pooh speaks.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure, you could do more of those things, but don't let that diminish your results. Like you've had really, really good results. You also ask, how do you all stay so positive? Because I do good, but I'm on a roller coaster with that. I don't think I have an SP. How do we stay positive, guys? How do you stay positive, Murph?
Who says I'm positive? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you gotta give yourself a lot of grace. You gotta give yourself a lot of credit and look at, how far you've come, what you're doing. That's the point of why we do non-scale victory happy hour too, is because, if we're just looking at the scale, that's not always like wow. It will eventually turn into wow, and but you got to look at all the things that you can do versus what you couldn't do before. Whenever I get,
sorry,
whenever I get like sad or emotional or have a bad day, what's up?
You just kept doing the whoa.
It was on loop.
Sorry, I couldn't hear it.
Really?
Good. I'm glad.
Sorry, continue.
Are you doing it now?
No, it stopped.
I got you, buddy. I got you. He's done.
Take that button away from Rob.
I wish I could. Truly, I wish I could.
When I feel like down and I'm hard on myself, I take out my Superman shirt, my 5XL, and I take out that shirt and I just look at it, try it on, dance around the house in it, and it puts me in a better mood. And I realize like, yeah, things today might suck, but like they're way better than they were, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Retrospect, looking, retrospectively, things we could have done differently. There's always things that we could do differently, but give yourself some grace, give yourself some credit. You had a surgery to like have your stomach They're like, more than half of your stomach removed. Like that's brave,
Yeah.
and you're doing it to better yourself. So don't quit, don't give up, don't get down. Yeah.
100%. Sharky Chicky says mindset over matter. Yes, that's exactly it.
It's a fine balance too, like between, yes, like looking at ways you can improve and do more, but like I think a lot of what got us to where we were was shame from outside, from inside. And so it's like that was just the one thing when I had surgery. I really wanted to do things different in that way and not take it from a shaming place, but go, you know what? Like, let's focus on all of the effort I'm doing and all of the things that I'm making. And it really helps for me to take it that way. I haven't found that shame works for many people.
No.
Long term.
Yeah.
That's the key.
And so I had this conversation with one of our clients again, and it was, and you guys have heard me say this, like I'm an emotional leader, like many of us are. And when I'm super stressed or pissed or upset or whatever the case might be, first place I go is the cabinet and I'm looking for chips, right? And you can look in that situation from two different perspectives, right? Like I purposely choose to allow myself to eat this food because I need it right now, and with the intention of tomorrow or right after I get this fix, I'm good. I'm done. I had it. I'm not depriving myself from anything. I'm not making it hard on myself. The other way you can look at it, which, comes back to that idea of shame, is, I'm really stressed. Things are going really bad. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be good. And then I cave, and then I have some chips, and then I look at it like I failed and I feel shame over it. The outcome is very similar. It could probably be worse because it's going to be harder to get yourself out of that, and you're constantly hurting yourself mentally and emotionally as a result of that. So again, same situation or similar situation, but looking at it from a slight different perspective and being proactive about it can make a world of difference in regards to how you feel about it. And that's all that matters at the end of the day, right?
Yep. I want to read a couple. We're getting some cool comments. First off, Erin, that sounds really good. She says the most random, but I've been snacking on sugar snap peas rolled up in turkey meat and dipping it in ranch dressing. Weird, but yummy.
It's like you're high.
You're like healthy.
But healthy. You're healthy high. It's like you're high and you have the munchies, but you're like, but I don't want to disappoint my coach, so I'm just gonna wrap these sugar snap peas.
Really good. I'm here for it. I would do plain Greek yogurt with some ranch mix, like a dip mix in it, and use that as my dipping sauce. That would be really good.
Yeah.
And then Michelle said her hubby is going to have gastric bypass. And they had the dietitian appointment today. That is super exciting. Congratulations. Wow. He just wants to be like officially part of the group now. I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
That's super cool. Let's see. Yeah. And Heather said, talk to yourself like you talk to your friends, gently or gentle.
Yeah. I was going to say dirty.
Aaron said, Rob, will you in those moments still portion out the chips, for example, or just munch from the bag and tomorrow is a new day? I need to get better at portioning out snacks.
So if you have the ability to just be like, I'm just going to portion this out, I'm going to do that. Like I used to do that a lot, which is super helpful. Usually if it's like a really, really emotional thing that's happening, I'm just going to be like, nope, I'm just going to eat this and not worry about it. And then I know tomorrow's a new day. I've actually surprised myself. I've yet to break that in regards to, it extends another day and then another day and another day. Like it hasn't. And I was always worried about that because I was the type of person who it would just drag out until I just totally lost that diet battle, right? So yeah, if it's something that is really, really big, again, remember, life happens and you need to prioritize your resources where you can. And it's okay sometimes to not be 100% on. But yes, if you do have the wherewithal to portion that out as you're fuming and getting really pissed, then 100% I would do that.
Yep. And we're actually we have a show scheduled later. I can't remember what date now, but where we're gonna actually get more into macro related stuff. And Autumn had asked, how do you portion stuff out? And so we're gonna do a more specific show on that, talking about what are macros, how can you weigh and measure stuff, what are some of the things like tools where you can log stuff. So that's like a whole other conversation, but we are going to do that at some point this year. So just stay tuned for that.
It's a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Just in time for the holidays.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll be good timing for that.
Yeah.
Well, I see our guest, and I don't want to keep him waiting as much. So we will do sexy time music, and then I'm really excited to have him on. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Let's do it.
Sexy time music in 3, 2.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Hey, I'm Murph, and it's Wednesday night. I'm so happy to be here.
What's up, guys? It's Shea, and we're going to be outnumbered with boys tonight.
What's up, guys? It's Rob, and yeah, we are. Woo-hoo! Welcome to the Waiting Table Podcast. I was going to be like, yeah, finally, we outnumber the girls. I'm like, oh, we do that every week, so.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a normal thing.
That's a normal thing. Yeah, that happens. Well, it's going to be even better today. So thank you guys for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we have roundtable discussions about the hottest topics in weight loss with, of course, the coolest people from the bariatric community. I'm Rob. We got Murph, we got Shea, and we got you guys. So grab a chair, wind down from your busy day, and take a seat at the table. Murph, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I am super excited to meet with our special guest tonight. Let's keep it rolling. Shea, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited I'm also excited to meet our guest. You guys have gotten to meet him before, but this will be my first time. So I'm excited to hear his story, and it's going to be a good one. And I just want to give a quick shout out. I see Amber joined the chat. She just got her surgery this week. So send her all the love
Yay.
and
All
congrats,
right.
sister. I'm so excited and proud of you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, Steph. Welcome, Arthur. Welcome, everyone. Murph, tell us about our guest today. Would you like to introduce him?
Yeah, so this guy is what I mean, I met him about 3 years ago. I've never actually talked to him face to face. I was on his podcast, and this was the first time that I shared my story. And he was originally the first brain that I picked about how to start a podcast, because this is so beneficial. This is just so cool, and the way he did it was just so great. And he really paved the way and set a great example for a lot of men in the community, because that's what he does. He's a part of the Fat Guy Forum, and you guys might know him as Gormy Goes Keto to the Table. Gormy, come on up.
Hey.
Hello. Howdy.
What's up, man?
How's it going? Can you guys hear me?
We
Yeah.
can.
I had a little bit of a tech problem as I was getting ready to join the backstage area. The headphones I was going to use decided they weren't going to connect to anything.
That's
So
usually
I
how
was
it
like,
works. Mhm.
I was scrambling like through a drawer. Like, I know I have something. I have something I
Yeah.
can make work. So
I
It
had a
always
microphone
used to
issue.
feel like that.
I
Yeah.
had a microphone issue like 5 minutes
Mm.
before we went on tonight. Like, what is going on with my mic? Yeah, it's always something. But
Mhm.
we're here, man. You pulled it off. We can hear you just fine.
awesome.
Loving the beard, and it's cool to
Mm.
finally meet you face to face and in person.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
cool, man. I
I
know
like
it.
your Hawaiian shirt, first off. I feel like
I-
that's where we need to start.
Yes.
I figured I need to be festive. Usually I'm just like,
Mhm.
I'm a t-shirt guy, a Henley kind of guy, and I was like, I need something that's a little more exciting to bring to
I
the
love it.
table.
Ooh,
love it.
No pun
I
intended.
like it.
Love
I
it.
like
Much
it.
better than Rob's Speedo he normally shows off. I'd prefer the
Yeah.
Hawaiian shirt over that any day.
Mm,
Rob's actually wearing a shirt tonight, though, not just a
I
Right?
know. He
tank
did
top.
dress
Special
up.
occasion. Special
I know.
occasion because Gormy.
well, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Gormy.
Don't we all?
Right?
Mhm.
He lies. For anyone who does not know or who is unaware, Gormy, can you tell us a bit about yourself as well as the Fat Guy Forum?
Sure. So, long story short, I'm in my 50s, so I have been a lifelong dieter. Is a good way to put it. Was put on my first diet at 10 years old, and that just started the roller coaster. Spent decades going up and down and up and down, and losing and gaining. Had a significant period where I thought I had conquered everything and lost around 300 pounds, and put it all back on in about 6 months, and realized I don't know anything. Spent a few years after that and finally came back around to figuring out what was going on and what I needed to do and why. A huge part of everything I talk about is like why we do these things that we do, why it's important. And that was also when I discovered keto, which for me was the tool that was really helpful. That was 8.5 years ago. So in that time, I've lost over 250 pounds. And maintained at this point I'm maintaining over 250 pounds and have a couple pounds I want to drop still, but working on all that with life. And in like you said, the Fat Guy Forum came along in the middle of all that. One of the things I realized that was missing through I had some really significant successful weight loss attempts, like losing 150 pounds, gaining 150 pounds, like losing almost 200, gaining almost 200, all of that. And I eventually realized that mindset and paying attention to mindfulness and purpose was the thing missing. So I became like an avid devourer of content, and I love podcasts. So I turned to the podcast community and was like, I want to hear stories that sound like mine. And I realized there really weren't any being talked about at the time. And it's kind of funny because I used to say a lot at the time, there were a lot of podcasts focusing on women's journeys. Honestly, most of them are gone, which is sad, honestly. Like, it's something that I think about a lot, but there were no podcasts that were sharing the stories of men struggling with weight loss and that weren't athletes who had a bad off season, or that person who had that stubborn 20 pounds after they got married and had kids and was looking to lose that and now was a bodybuilder or an athlete, a triathlete and things along those lines, or a military vet who put a little weight on after getting out of service. And so I decided I needed to start a podcast. And it's interesting when we talk about like, how did that go? I had a logo, a name, a recording service, equipment, and everything for a year before I launched my first episode. And I recorded the first episode probably like 8 times and deleted it. Hated hearing my own voice, felt like it was nonsense, and had some really good friends one year say, okay, we were at a convention, KetoCon in 2019 or 2018, 2019. And they said, okay, after we get home, you have 2 weeks to get an episode up. And if you don't, we're going to ask every day. So I went home and literally a week later dropped the first episode. And from there, we're now looking at the podcast has been around for 6 years, coming up on, where are we at? 360, 370 episodes. Over 250 different guests have come on the show, closer to 300. And I focus on sharing the stories of men that struggle with weight at all stages of their journeys. I've talked to guys that have been successful for years and guys that are just getting started. And it's not, sometimes I get pigeonholed as a keto podcast by some people. It's not. I don't think I had another keto guest on until like the 20th episode. And I share stories of people that have used all different pathways and tools. And obviously I've shared many stories of men that have had bariatric surgery and what that experience has been like. And, had 2 of you both on the show, and made some jokes about how many men named Rob in the bariatric community.
It's very oversaturated.
Oh yeah. Because I think I've had 4 or 5 guys named Rob that have had bariatric surgery on my podcast.
I think it's kind of a requirement, actually. There's
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced that all of them were born with the name Rob.
I changed it afterwards.
That like they change it once they realize they want to pop in the community. So
trying to ride coattails here. Come on.
So I continue sharing stories and living my journey, doing the work that I do. I work with coaching people now, and that's my primary focus. But the podcast is a big part of that. In terms of connecting with people, and the irony being that majority of the audience is women. And because majority of podcast consumers are women, and I still hear that people relate to the stories, and I hear a lot from women that are married to men that struggle with these issues and don't know how to communicate about them. And I've flirted with the idea of actually starting like a sub of the podcast where I speak to partners of people that struggle with weight issues, of men that struggle with weight issues, regardless of their gender. And so that has always kind of been out there. I actually had started to schedule that, and then the relationship didn't work out for the people that I was talking to. So I then decided I maybe need to pull back on that a little bit and look at what I'm getting into when I do that. And I won't name drop or anything along those lines, but it's been a fun journey, and it's been a big part of my own personal journey. Like every week knowing that I'm going to be talking to someone different, and it's hard to sway from your own path when you're not just getting overloaded with inspiration constantly, but also really getting into some pretty intense talks about mindset and why people change and why people don't change. Like, I think that's the great thing about these forums is like, it's not just, I always tell people, like, I ask the same question every episode as the first question. It's what qualifies you to be on the Fat Guy Forum? And a lot of people think that means I just want to report on the heaviest weight, how much weight they've lost, and where they're at, how many years it's been. And it's really more about what is this journey that you've been on? Like, where did this start for you? Like, how did this develop? What brought you to where you're at? And, I just love getting into it. It's something that inspires me constantly. And I just really, I get thrown curveballs all the time. And I'm sure we can get into some of that because some of it's related to the bariatric community. So there's all kinds of good stuff out there with it.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, first of all, congratulations on having a podcast for that long. Like saying, it's a lot of work. And I think unless you've done it, you don't really, or people don't understand all that goes behind it. And how you were saying, just podcasts have kind of dropped off over time because it's a huge commitment. And so thank you for all of the content that you're putting out there, all of the people that you're allowing to share their stories, because it's not just showing up. There's a lot that goes behind it. So congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Well, it's wild to me. I don't think most people know this, but like 90% of podcasts don't get past episode 3. And after that, the number is like 75% don't get past episode 10.
Yeah.
So once you get past 10 episodes, you're in the top 10% of podcast creators in the world. Like if you're actually keeping it going, like, so you guys should feel great about that, because I know you're well past that. Like it's just realizing that, like you said, it's work, but it's fulfilling. Like it's awesome. And I am the podcast that is a lot of, I know you mentioned this, Murph, like it was your first time talking about your story. Like a lot of guys I'm their first stop, and I don't know if it's how, what I put out there, or, the fact that I have a counseling listening skills background that kind of, I encourage people who say they're not ready to talk to get them to talk. So it's fun to be that place and watch where people go from there. And there's probably at this point, but probably been close to 10 podcasts that have started from people that have been on the show. Are they all still around? Probably not, but it's great to see where things go for people and all that jazz.
Blazing trails, man. I'm proud of you. That's really incredible though, that you've been with it that long. And yeah, you found me, I think, and I don't know how that all came about. I was very, very new to the community, and you welcomed me with open arms and put out my story for me, and from then on, it was just like, it was so much easier. You just had to break that ice. You just had to put yourself out there. And I remember saying things that I've never really said out loud before. I was able to, I felt so liberated and able to just say it. I have a food addiction. I have, whatever, I don't remember what it was. Don't go back and watch it if anybody's thinking, or listen to it if anybody's thinking, because it was awful. It was my first. I was so nervous. I remember just like shaking.
I can imagine. Like you get nervous on our show.
Yeah, I get nervous every Wednesday night just doing our show. But and then we had technical difficulties. I remember having it was a couple takes, and yeah, it was a lot of fun though, man, and loved working with you. So you said you started. I'm gonna just jump into some like rapid fire questions, I think, if you guys don't mind. You said you got like your parents put you on a diet like when you were 10 years old. Are we talking like Weight Watchers? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah. Well, it was weight. I was 10 years old. I was well over 200 pounds. And it was Weight Watchers. My aunt was the Weight Watchers queen. I think every family has one.
Same, bro.
And at that point, and I almost feel like it should still be at this way, I'm not sure if it is, it was not legal for children to attend Weight Watchers. So we had to do it at home. And I have probably one of the most vivid memories of my life of the scale related to that point when I was 10 years old, because I didn't want to get on the scale for my family. I obviously, even at 10 years old, I knew you're not going to like what you see. They're not going to like what they see. And my aunt said to me, this is just between us. We're going to do this together. You're going to get on the scale. I'm going to write it down in the book, and no one's ever going to know. And I got on the scale, and she ran out of the bathroom into the kitchen where my entire family was assembled, extended family, and said, oh my God, he's over 200 pounds. And yelled that in front of the whole family. And they actually at that point were paying me to lose weight. Which is a great incentive as a kid. And I remember very clearly when I hit goal weight, and, I think like many of us, even to this day, we assume that when we hit goal weight, all the work's done, everything's fine, you're cured. And I remember going to the candy store the day they gave me the money from the weight loss, like literally saying, okay, thank you. Going to the comic book store, going to the penny candy store. And again, I'm old enough to remember penny candy stores. There was a counter, probably 100 different little candies, and you'd say, I want 20 of those, that kind of thing. And I went and blew all that money on candy and McDonald's. And that started that journey of lose weight with a specific number in mind. And then after you hit that number, who cares what happens next?
Yeah. Or you've earned this, and now you can just go back to doing what you were doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got that. So yeah, Weight Watchers for me too. I went with my parents to a church where they were hosting Weight Watchers, and they wanted me to get involved. So was I there illegally? I don't know. Like, was I not supposed to be there? But like, I remember there was a lady, a stranger, who took all my measurements, put me on a scale. It was humiliating. I mean, it was just awful, and they wrote it down in a book. And I remember it having vibrant colors, and it was, it was the 80s and 90s, and, so all the neons and stuff like that. I remember all that. And I kind of forgot about all that, but like now, yeah, man, that was Yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy
Oh, yeah.
time. But so then fast forward to that.
Mhm.
You hit those goals with Weight Watchers and things like that, but then like back at it again, and then
Yeah,
you just continue to ride that roller coaster.
I hit those goals. I went back to school for the start of 7th grade and was, the kid that lost 100 pounds since the end of the school year, and had all of that buoy, kind of carrying me. And then we found out that we were moving
Mm,
to another city. Gonna have to leave the school I was in to finish finished 8th grade. All my friends gone, all of that. And weight started coming back on because no one was really paying attention to me anymore. For
yeah.
when you're a kid losing weight, you get watched like a hawk. And
Mhm.
then once they stop watching you, you figure out, especially when you're a kid even at that age, struggling with food addiction and food impulses and control and all of those things. And very rapidly started putting weight on again. And by sophomore year of high school, I was 350 pounds. And my my parents were separated at this point. I came home from school one day, and both of my parents were in the kitchen of the apartment we lived in, which I don't think had happened since my parents were divorced, years before that, 6 years before that. And they were like, "We're taking your car away if you don't go to Weight Watchers." So I went to Weight Watchers. And that's for me is like the quintessential Weight Watchers memories for me, because that was
Mm.
the 16-year-old boy going to the meeting that was filled with middle-aged women.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No one really happy. An incredible, had some incredible coaches and speakers, during that experience. It's
Mhm.
one of the things that I think is fantastic about Weight Watchers meetings is like that person being with you and talking and all of that. And you do your weigh-ins, and of course, one of the things with Weight Watchers is ribbons and awards every time you hit a
Mhm.
milestone. And as a 16-year-old boy who now is not eating, a pint of Ben and Jerry's and a king size Reese's bar every day after school anymore, weight was flying off of me. So I was getting awards every meeting. And I remember this woman turned around at one point and she put her finger right at my face and she said, "You're only losing weight because you're a man. So don't get happy about it." And I was like terrified that she was going to kill me. But it very much was like one of the first memories I have of thinking about, there are some gender differences when it comes to weight loss as well, and age and all of those factors start to come into play. And I lost weight again, graduated college, probably around 210 pounds, went off, graduated college, graduated high school around 210, went off to college, put some weight on, didn't really put some weight on, kind of stayed in a similar range, 250 or so, 275 for most of college. Left college, and it was on my own, no school anymore, working, access to money, my own car,
Yeah.
and my weight just skyrocketed. And
Yeah.
very quickly was up over 400 pounds. So in the meantime, I'd have those moments of, quote unquote lucidity where I'm like, I got to do something about this. So I did Richard Simmons' Deal a Meal. I did Atkins. There was a diet called the Carb Addict Diet, which I resonated with. It was basically two low carb meals. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It was breakfast and lunch were low carb, and then dinner was called the reward meal. And you had an hour, and you had to eat a salad, and then you had a plate that you had to divide into three. And you had to have protein, a green vegetable, and then whatever you wanted on that other third of the plate. So they'd be like, it could be potatoes, it could be a nice, squash, or it could be a pint of Ben and Jerry's. And as long as you were eating enough other food to keep it balanced, it was fine. And so off the rails I went again. And, multiple diet attempts. Found paleo in like 2010, was well over 500 pounds at that point, almost 550. When I was actually talking about this with a client the other day. When I started that diet, it wasn't because I even felt like I wanted to lose weight. It was because the company I was working for had closed. So I was almost 550 pounds, unemployed, barely could walk, barely could stand, and knew there was no way I could even make it into a job interview, never mind like crush something like that. So I was like, I gotta do something. And I was in poverty at the time, so you don't have the money for food, so that jump starts the weight loss. And I there was there was no Instagram then. Facebook was not really that big of a thing. We're talking about like 2010 to 2013. So I had a blog. I was a blogger, and it was called Shake and Bacon, and it was just everything that I even still talk about to this day. But it was mostly about how was my weight loss going, what was I eating, that kind of thing. And I lost over 300 pounds,
Wow.
and again thought I was cured, thought I had done everything. and went on vacation to celebrate that and my 40th birthday, and did great on that vacation. Stayed paleo at Disneyland. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, but did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And decided on the way home that I deserved a treat. Like you said, Murph, I earned something.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit the, Arby's in the Baltimore airport. And we don't have Arby's. I was in Rhode Island at the time. We didn't have Arby's. So I was like, I can never get Arby's. I'm going to get Arby's. And this is going to be my one cheat meal. This is going to be my one thing. And that cascaded into basically putting on almost 40 pounds in 3 days after the first month. And I literally, I've talked about this before on my podcast. Like, I went through this mental process of, you're having one cheat meal, you're having one cheat day. Okay, just the weekend. Okay, head into the week. Next weekend, you can have another cheat meal. Back to the diet this week. And then I started to convince myself, well, maybe take a whole week. You worked at this for 3 years. Why not just take a week? And by the time I was halfway through that week, I was in that headspace of, I didn't need to lose weight. I wasn't happy. I was never happy. I'm miserable. Let's not do this. And a month later, I was up 100 pounds. And that was May of 2013. And by October of 2013, I had regained every pound I had lost.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, a lot of people don't believe it when I tell that story. They're like, 6 months, that's not possible. I'm like, I have the pictures. I have, time-stamped photos, all of those things to document it. I have the friends and family who can tell you what it was like to be terrified watching that happen. And, and years later, tangential medical situation I went through discovered that I probably had a heart attack during that time and didn't know it because of some of the symptoms I exhibited and things that I found out later. All kinds of things along those lines. But I basically hit a point where I just decided I was going to be fat and die. That was who I was meant to be. Changing never worked. Why would I even try again? And just kind of carried myself forward for a few years, 4 years specifically. Ran into a family situation where, for the first time ever in my life, I wasn't. It's funny because people say don't try to lose weight for anyone else. And I wasn't trying to lose weight for anyone else, but I had a conversation with my father. He and my stepmother were adopting twins from another family member. And he said, we're going to need your help. And it wasn't him saying, you're over 500 pounds and you're not going to be able to help us with these babies if you die. It was him saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this at my age. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I need you. And that resonated with me. And I thought for the first time, if I don't do something, I'm not going to be there to help them, because I knew death was looming. I've also shared this before. I used to keep a letter by my bed that was for my family to find if I didn't wake up, because I felt that death was imminent and I was powerless to do anything about it. So I wrote this horrific letter when I think, look back at it now, that was really self-serving and selfish. That was saying, I was happy. Don't worry about me. Don't mourn me. BS like that. And I, for the first time in my life, decided that I wanted to live. And I knew I had screwed this up so many times. I needed to do something different. And it wasn't just about what was I going to do different diet-wise or anything like that. It was what's actually happening. I think one of the lessons I learned was when I lost that weight and put it back on quickly was I had done no work on who I would be when I lost the weight. Because I think one of the things that people sometimes don't think about with massive weight loss is the life you live when you're that big is not the same thing as the life of someone who's 300 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that you can't just say no to everything anymore. You can't say, I don't fit into that space. I can't do that. Like, what does life look like when you have to start saying yes? And it's not just about being able to use food for the things you were using it for. So that's where the mindset side of things came into it for me. And I wrote, I don't want to die on Post-it notes, probably about a dozen of them, and hung it up around my apartment, bathroom mirror, fridge, cabinets everywhere, and decided it was Valentine's Day, 2017, that was when I was going to start. And I'm an all or nothing guy at times. And I made that decision at 11 o'clock at night on the 13th. And so I literally, probably till about 2 o'clock in the morning, cleaned out my house of all the food that I couldn't have around anymore. I couldn't manage to portion control and all of those things. And many trips out to a dumpster which
Mhm.
when you live in a second floor apartment and you're over 500 pounds is not an easy feat. Something you don't try to do a lot, but I was like, I need this out of the house. I need to do this. And went to bed and woke up the next day and got started.
Wow.
That's so awesome. That's such an amazing
Incredible.
story.
Yeah.
And what you had mentioned definitely resonates, I think, with myself. It's something I see quite a lot in regards to people feeling like who we are now, or let's just say earlier on, like if we establish routines, habits, diet, anything when we were X weight, and now that we are wherever we are now, a lot of times people have that same habit, have that same diet, have those things, and they don't really put the thought into who am I going to be when I lose that weight, or who am I now, right? Like, and it doesn't have to be something that you decide when you're making that decision to change. That could be part of it. That could be something that you want to see and motivate you, inspire you to do that. But there are many checkpoints throughout this journey where you can be like, who am I? Who am I now? What is different? And I think maybe more than almost anyone that I've talked to, like the self-awareness that you've had is just inspirational. It's amazing to see, because realistically, I think that is oftentimes the difference between people who are successful and not, is the ability to really assess, who am I now? What are my needs now? Because it's different from yesterday. It's different from a year ago. It's different from when I was 400 or 500 pounds, right? And we need that. We are constantly evolving, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally. And that's a big part of the work. It's the emotional and mental part, right? Because that will always instigate a lot of these physical changes. And we don't oftentimes look at those things.
No, 100%.
What would you say is the mental change that had to take place? You said that you cleaned out your house, Valentine's Day, but what was it? Was that when, I mean, the real light bulb kicked on, and you made that choice? But like, what would you say is the mental fortitude that you've had to have moving forward? Have you kept that same mindset? Is that what has brought you here today, or has it changed and evolved, or what would you?
I would say the thing I had to realize was that losing weight is hard work, regardless of how you do it. And I think we all always want it to be easy. And it's not just realizing, I mean, that's kind of simple and stupid. Everyone knows that it's hard. Every person who's tried to lose weight knows that it's hard. What I mean is that there are going to be days where it feels near impossible to be compliant with whatever you're doing. And what the biggest mindset shift I made was learning that having a clear vision of my purpose, of why it was important for me to change, that I don't want to die, that I started with, I had to remind myself of that every day. So I started doing a lot of things that feel silly, and I have clients do them now. And I say, this is going to feel weird and awkward when you start doing this. But when you get up every morning, I want you to revisit your purpose. I want you to sit down. I want you to open the book you have written in. I want you to open the note in your phone. And for me, I was a handwriter. I love paper and pens. I would open that book and look at those words. And then I would say to myself, why is it important for me to make the choices I need to make today? Regardless of how I'm feeling about it, regardless of what else is thrown at me. There's so much we can't control in the world, and we can only control some things. Yes. And so I had to sit and say, what are the things that I can control today? What am I going to do about that? And then, and that's great. If someone just implements that, I think that's fantastic. Revisiting purpose. What does your day need to look like? What does the action look like? That's fantastic. But the bigger piece that I think really helped was at the end of the day, I would sit down and say, so how did I do today? What did I do really? And I always ask myself this question first. What did I do really well today? Because I think as human beings, when we assess, we look for mistakes. We look for problems. We look for things that didn't go well. We look for the things that we screwed up. I forced myself to look at the positive first. And I learned that through the idea of looking at the idea of gratitude. So what are the things that I'm grateful for today? What are the things that I did regardless of how hard things were? And then I could say to myself, okay, what do I need to do better tomorrow? What do I need to put some more focus on tomorrow? And I just did that one day at a time. And I did that one day at a time. And It's related because I had tried and failed so many times in my life that I believed, and every time I would fall off, it was years. We're talking. It was never for me fall off for a week and get back on Monday. That never happened. It was never fall off and get back on in a week. And summer of 2017, I actually fell off my diet. Again, this is where things get funny. It was again a trip through the Baltimore airport and Arby's. And I had decided that I was strong enough at that point to do it. I wasn't. Spoilers.
Just one curly fry. You can
right,
do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
And I fell off for a month. But the thing is, I had built that habit of mindfulness.
Yes.
So I've been asking myself every day, how do you feel? How is what you're eating making you feel? How is this going? So even though I actually fell off for a month, and it was not a good month, halfway through that month, I realized I felt like garbage, that I didn't feel good, that all of these highs I was chasing with food didn't exist anymore. You know, there was no perfect cheat meal. There was no perfect way to fill the holes, you know, all of that. And so I made the decision, you know, about a week later that I needed to get back to doing what I was doing. And for some people, they hear you went off for a month. That's awful. You wasted a month. For me, I look at that as one of the biggest successes I've ever had in my life, because I pulled myself back in a month without it taking years. And it didn't take another crisis for me to pull myself back. And I got right back to doing the things that I needed to do. Fast forward a few months, and I ended up facing the biggest fear of my life because I got really sick, really, really sick. And I had not seen a doctor in over 20 years because I knew the lectures I was going to get. I knew they were probably going to diagnose me with diabetes. I knew all the things. There were sleep apnea, everything. So I had always said in my head, once you've lost weight, you're going to go to the doctor. I hit a point where I could barely get out of bed. And so I called my dad and said, I need you to take me to a doctor in the morning. He had a good friend that was a doctor. He said, I'll see if Stan can get you in. I was terrified. I knew something really bad was going on. I packed a backpack with underwear, books I would want to read, my phone chargers, everything I could need if I was going into the hospital, because I knew I was going to go into the hospital. I went into his doctor's office after having probably to rest 5 times walking in from the car. Now, at this point, I'm down 150 pounds. I lose weight fast when I start dieting. Just to give people context, it was around 150 from February. And sat in his office, and he thought I had the flu, is what my dad had told him. He walks in and he gets like this terrified look on his face. He's like, you're almost blue. He put a pulse ox on me and said, your oxygen percentage right now is around 83%. Below 90, you're doing damage to your organs. Below 95, you should probably be in an emergency room. So he said, legally, I should call an ambulance. He goes, but if you guys promise to go right to the hospital, I'll let you leave the office. We went to the hospital. A gym buddy of my dad's was working intake at the hospital, so got us moved up to the front. Luckily, they took me to the back, threw me on a table, started literally cutting my shirt off of me and putting electrodes on me and everything. And in my head, in that moment, I said, you can't stop this. They're here to save your life. You need to just focus on what you can control. And had pneumonia, almost died, was told that if I waited an hour, I probably would have been dead. Was in the hospital for almost 35 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We had this huge family trip planned to go to Disneyland together. That all got canceled. That didn't happen. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. There was a Star Wars movie coming out that year. I didn't get to go see the Star Wars movie. I spent Christmas in the hospital.
Wow.
And that was when I learned that I at some point, the doctor came in and said, so yeah, this was probably 10 days in. He came in and said, so when did you have the heart attack? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, we don't have any medical records for you because you haven't seen a doctor. So, and you're not showing up in any of our emergency systems. When did you have the heart attack? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, well, you had a heart attack at some point in your life. And there was no damage to my heart, physical damage, but it was electrical damage. And he said, so we should try to figure that out and figure out what's going on. And we sat down and he said, so my first question is like, did you ever have a point in the past where you went to bed at night uncomfortable? And I said, I was over 500 pounds for a decade. I went to bed uncomfortable every night. You're going to need to narrow it down. And so we went through all of that. But it was another huge turning point for me, because I faced the biggest fear I ever had in my life, which was of doctors, and had doctor after doctor say, if you hadn't made the change you made this year, you would not have survived this. There's no way you would have survived this. You barely survived it as it is. So keep doing what you're doing. I had a lot of doctors who were anti-low carb come around to low carb while I was in the hospital. I also probably mentored a half a dozen nurses who wanted to get started losing weight, and they wrote the keto guy on my whiteboard, and nurses would come in and be like, oh, I'm not here to do anything, but can you tell me about this stuff that you do? Like, just tell me your story. I've heard it. I also got asked every day because, doctors rotate through, especially holiday season, have you considered losing weight? Have you thought about maybe starting a weight loss journey or considering all of your options? And so I actually made my before picture the background on my phone, and I would just pick the phone up and be like, this is where I was, less than a year ago. Oh, okay, great. Awesome. It got like almost became a joke at a point. And after the hospital, I was on oxygen at home. Had to live at my parents' house for a couple of weeks because I couldn't walk upstairs. Had to basically work to get back strength just to be able to walk around a house.
Yeah.
And went through that. And through that entire experience, hospitalization, post-hospitalization, stayed 100% complying with my eating. Did not waver, never had a thought that I needed to do something else. I knew I was saving my life at that point. So that I don't want to die became a literal thing to me. It became something that coalesced in a way that I don't want any other person to ever have to go through. But in terms of the mindset, like I knew what I was working on mindful, and there's a reason why I talk a lot, I hopefully someone warned you all about that. But one of the biggest mindset shifts I made was that when I was in the hospital, was the first time that I read Marcus Aurelius' Meditations and started really getting into Stoic philosophy. And that core concept of controlling the things that you can control, and also memento mori, which is remember that you're going to die. And some people look at memento mori and they think remember that you're going to die means live life like it's a party, because you could die any day. All of us face death. None of us escape it. It could happen at any time. And the thing that I uncovered was what it really means is live every day like if it was your last one. That's how you'd want to be remembered. Mm-hmm. That's what you would want people to talk about. And I started to really incorporate that into my life. That idea of that if I was hit by a bus, if I suffered some kind of medical situation that I had no control of, whatever, I was still going to live every day like I wanted that to be the best day of my life, the healthiest day of my life, the day where I felt the most responsible for my action.
Yeah.
And from there, that all just kind of grew for me and became the mindset that I still live under now, the mindset that I work with people on, the mindset I talk about all the time in the podcast. Like, we never know what life is going to hand us, but there are some things in this life that we can control. Mm-hmm. So we have to let go of the things that we can't. And we have to focus on saying, am I doing everything I can about the things that I can control? And if the answer is no, then that's what you need to work on.
Yeah. I love that.
That's incredible.
I wondered too if you have advice. One of the things that you had said was just that identity shift, and when you've gotten to those goal weights in the past, realizing like, oh, this is not the end all be all like I thought it was. And one of the things that we've all talked about on the show, and what I hear a lot from other people in the weight loss community, is just the sense of grief that comes with that, of realizing, oh, like this isn't going to solve all of my problems. If anything, it kind of opens up a whole other set of different issues. And just curious, because I mean, you've been through lots of different iterations of that. Any advice for people who are struggling with more of that, the grief aspect of those things?
Definitely. I will say at first, one of the things I say all the time to people is the really hard thing about going on a mindful, aware journey when it comes to your health and your weight is that things are going to get worse before they get better. Because for many of us, we use food to avoid a lot of things. Mm-hmm. We use food to handle emotions. We use food to react to situations we didn't have control of. We use food to avoid people, to avoid relationships, all kinds of reasons. And the biggest thing you learn when you take food out of that equation is that you then either have a choice to face those things or allow things to keep getting worse. So I think part of that process, that thing that feels worse, is you realize that crutch that had been there your whole life isn't there anymore. And it's something I've talked with a lot of people who have had bariatric surgery about, is that it's not just that you're making a choice to change what you're eating. You know, you all know this. You come out of surgery and you have to change what you're eating, or you're going to get very sick. It's not going to go well. So that thing that you knew you were going to have to give up is hardwired gone. And I think it's realizing that, one, I love that you used the word grief, because I think one of the things we don't talk about is that we do grieve our past selves. Like, a big part of the growth process and coming into finding out who you are is acknowledging there were things in that life, while you may not have loved the results, there were things that you loved. There were things that you found comfort in, you know, and part of that is it's the comfort of the discomfort that we know versus the discomfort of the unknown is scarier. So it's, while I may not like where my issues with food and my body got me, I knew that, at least I lived that. I understood
familiarity.
There was familiarity. And when you try to make change, all of a sudden you're challenged in ways that you didn't allow yourself to be challenged before. And I think the biggest thing that I would give from an advice perspective is remembering that all of the choices you make on this journey are choices you're making. They are not punishments. You're not put into prison. It's not a pronouncement. The same thing happens when I talk to someone who says, I can't follow this meal plan, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. I'm like, no one's forcing you to do this. Remember, this is an active choice that you're making. You have great reasons for wanting to lose weight. You know, I on the show, or in, you know, on social media, or even in coaching, I work with a lot of parents, you know, people that are saying, I want to be healthy to be there for my kids. So it's saying back to them and saying, you want to be healthy because you want to be around for your kids' lives. So having to say no to cake right now, that's really the thing that's making you feel like you can't do this, because you feel like you're being punished and left out because you're not having a second piece of cake at a party. Is that really what's going on? Or is there something bigger there that you need to face? And I think shifting your perspective to realize that all of the healthy choices you make for yourself are gifts that you give yourself, whether that is choosing to have surgery, taking a medication, you know, following a certain way of eating, exercising at 4 o'clock in the morning, or at 5 o'clock after work when you don't feel like it. Everything that you're doing is because you have a good, positive reason. I'm very much a positivity person.
Yes.
I, at times in my past, very much was like, I got to read David Goggins' book. I got to listen to his latest motivational speech. Now, honestly, I can't handle his ilk and the stuff that they put out. Like the kill your clone, you have to kill your former self. I like to remind people that the person who decided to lose weight was not 250-pound me. It was 550-pound me. It was that person who went to fast food restaurants 3 times a day. It was that person who was on a first name basis with every manager at every fast food person in town. When I fell off keto that first time, I went back to Taco Bell, and it had been months. I used to go to Taco Bell 5 or 6 times a week at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And when I pulled up in the drive-thru, the kid working said, "We thought you died." Because I had been there so regularly and I just disappeared. And I was like, well, no, I kind of was doing other stuff. But it's remembering that, like, that person is the person that chose to make change. So show that person love and grace, and make change, define what you want to be, but you're always the same person. It's the same thing when people say they're, you know, I use this language tonight myself, but I hate this saying I'm on track or I'm off track, because there's only one track in your life, and you're either on it or you're dead. So even if you make choices that don't fall in line with your plan, or, you know, aren't great for your health, you're still on track. It's just you're making choices that feel off that track to you. So how do you get back on track when you stumbled? You just make the decision that you're going to get back on track. It's not pretty. It's not easy, but it is simple. Like, it really is simple. And all of the reasons that we try to make it feel complicated are just excuses building up inside of us. You know, I can't do it until Monday. I can't do it until this day. You know, I'm going to get back to it once I'm able to get to the grocery store again. No, you know, if you're brutally honest, the track is still there waiting for you. You're still on it. It's just when are you going to be willing to make the choices you need to make again?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say one more thing too that I just think is really cool of what your story highlights is the difference that shame makes versus or when you do things from a place of shame versus when you do things from a place of self-love and acceptance. And I saw that so much just in your story from when you started sharing it, or like the start of it from when you were a little kid being shamed and manipulated into losing weight, and then taking a different approach later and going, these are the things I get to do because I want to live. And I'm just curious because that's something that I'm always trying to focus on too, is like, for me, shame has never worked. That's not something that is helpful for me. And sometimes people will say like, oh, you need shame to make you feel bad about what you're doing, so you change. I just would love to hear your thoughts on that because you've experienced, I feel like, a lot of both.
I think you can be mad at yourself for choices that you've made. You can be ashamed of things that you've done. Those our feelings are always valid. But I think when we try to build change from that place of negative emotion, why would you do something for someone that you hate? Why would you do something really hard for someone that you don't care about? Why would you do something really hard for someone that you want to have go away? You have to love yourself. And it's funny because we get into now like the current popularity of body positivity and everything along those lines. But you have to love your body to change your body. Like, you have to care enough about yourself to do the things that it's going to take for you to make change. And we talk to ourselves like we would never talk to another human being, and the negative things that we say. And are there people in our, and I love someone will always be like, well, I used to have an uncle who was just every day would say, hey, fatty, when are you going to go on a diet? Like, okay, we all have outliers in our lives. But for the most part, every human being in our lives wants us to be healthy and wants us to be here. So most of the negativity and the shame are things that are shaped by our own perceptions and things that we're telling ourselves. It's one of my biggest pet peeves with social media is when people start a post with, everyone thought I couldn't do it. And I'm like, no, they didn't.
No,
like
just
literally not one person they wanted me to fail. No, not one person in your life one person that is worthy of being in your life wanted you to fail. There's a big distinction there. Like, we all have haters and stuff like that, but those people wanted you to succeed. It's you need to want you to succeed. You have to believe it's possible. And if you're constantly beating yourself up, if you're constantly sitting in a place of shame, like, you cannot feel good. Like, when my first exercise I ever did in 2017 was I would walk from my apartment to the front steps of my building, and I would sit down and rest for 10 minutes because I would be so out of breath. And then I would walk from my steps to a telephone pole, and I would rest at that telephone pole until my back hurt too much to stand. And then I would take a deep breath and walk back to my steps and sit down again. And do I feel good about that? That was all my body was capable of at that point? No, of course not. But was I grateful for the fact that my body could do that? I also think people that have been overweight their whole lives should be so intensely grateful for the fact that their bodies haven't given up on them. I look at the things that I lived through. I look at the things that all of you have lived through. Like, the fact that our bodies are still here and holding us up is incredible. So it's like, the thing I owe the most gratitude to is the body that hasn't quit on me.
Yes. Yep.
Is the body that hasn't quit on me, no matter how much I tried to make it quit. Like, how much I beat it up, how much I didn't get sleep, and how much I ate, and how much I drank, and all of those things. Like, it carried me through. So in a lot of ways, I feel like what I'm doing now is just giving back to this vessel that carried my spirit for so long and didn't allow me to check out, didn't allow it to happen. And when you're stuck, so like going back to your question, Shea, like, when you're overwhelmed by those feelings of shame or anger at yourself, it's allowing yourself to feel it, acknowledge it, and then say, where is this going to get me? Where am I going to go from here with this? Like, have those feelings and then move on. Like, allow those feelings to exist and then still take a step forward. Allow those feelings to be there and say back to yourself, this isn't how I want to feel about this. So if I don't want to feel this way about this anymore, what do I need to change? What do I need to do? And then just start reinforcing that every day. Like, I was one of those people that always wanted to be a journaler. I used to buy journals all the time. I had bookshelves that look like the bookshelves behind you guys, filled with blank journals. because every time I saw a journal, I was like, this is the one. This is the one that I'm going to use, like all of these different things. And I never really actually got into journaling. I was never able to actually do it. Like, even, I don't know if, I can't remember what it's called. There was this journaling trend that came around where it was like, you had to have all these different colored pens and rulers and stencils, and bullet journaling, I think is what it was called. And I spent probably like $200 on supplies to start my bullet journal. Never did it. All of this great stuff that I probably could have sold and made some money. But I discovered something called the 5-minute journal. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a journaling tool for people that want to journal but aren't really good at it. It gives you 3 questions to ask yourself in the morning, 3 questions to ask yourself at the end of the day. It takes you less than 5 minutes to do it. And that's where I started. And then I started to realize how I felt about the answers I was giving and the feelings I was having and what I needed to do to talk back to them. So I started journaling about how I felt and how do I feel about the things that I'm feeling and what are the things I need to keep in focus and what am I going to do about that? And again, that just continues to evolve when you stop accepting things and you start realizing that the only person who's ever going to make any change in your life is you. So what are you going to do about that? Are you going to do something, or are you not? You can choose not to do anything. It's 100% within your human rights to not do anything. But when is it going to be enough for you to say, I can't just keep beating myself up? This is getting me. No, beating myself up has never gotten me anywhere. So why would I keep doing it?
Yeah. I love that. I love so much of what you've actually mentioned today. It's like there are moments where I'm just like, oh yeah, I want to say something. I'm like, no, I just want to let you keep talking.
Mhm.
I made the comment actually after I was on your podcast that you have like the best podcast voice and you ask the best questions, but that voice is so much better when you're telling your story.
Mm.
Right? Like, because how often do you get to tell your story and be on the other side of the podcast? And it's amazing. It's amazing to hear it. Because, just not just your physical change, but the mental and emotional things that you've learned over that time. Like, I love your view on how to treat your body and being grateful for it. Because, like, really, and this is something I constantly tell people, it's the thing that's never given up on me when I've given up on myself, right?
Mhm.
It's still here. And so why would I not be grateful for it? Why would I not choose to give it the best food to nourish it? Because it's always been there for me, right? And again, like, these are all just they're changes in perspective. Everything you say when you wake up and before you go to bed. Like, I always tell myself every morning when I wake up, I don't care. It doesn't matter how many hours of sleep or how little sleep I've had. I always wake up and the first thing I tell myself is, this is going to be an amazing day. Right. And you can make it that. You choose to make it. Like, there's always going to be bad things. Like, as you mentioned, there are things that you will worry about, but you can only control a very small percentage of that. And so control those percentages. The thing I can control is how I perceive all these different things. And you can do that in so many different ways. But at the the way I sort of see it is, I can control whether I'm going to have a great day or not. And just by verbalizing that to myself, I know that I'll look at things from that perspective. And exactly what you're saying at the end of the day. Okay, well, I'm grateful for the day and for everything that I've done and been able to achieve today. What can I work on to make it tomorrow even better? I absolutely love that. That's so good.
Yeah, I really appreciate the insight, but also confirmation from me, to talk to myself more. Not in the crazy sense, but to really have conversations with myself. I read a study. I think the average person has about 700,000 thoughts a day, and 65 to 75% of those thoughts are negative thoughts about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it,
Yeah.
because that's like, I'm in my head like all day long. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. Like I'm regaining, and now I was too thin, and now I'm too, like this. I'm too that. We're always, and it's just like, stop and ask yourself some really important questions. And you've laid out a lot here, and I wish I had a journal back here somewhere that I could grab and write this down. Fortunately, we'll be able to go back and watch all of this, and I definitely will.
That's right.
But just being honest with yourself and just talking to yourself, and really, like, do your wife and kids really hate you? Like, no, they don't. Next question. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
are you a failure? No, you're still here. You're still alive. Therefore, you have not quit. So you have not failed. It's like, okay, cool. Next question. You know what I mean? Like, we could be checking these off daily and really doing a lot of, inner mindset work. But it's hard. It's not easy to do, and, man, it's just, this is so good. You've just dropped so many nuggets. Definitely going to go back and rewatch this, re-listen to this. Such a great episode. It's been a pleasure having you here, man. We're going to wrap up, I think, real quick. Do you guys have any more questions? I have one more. You guys good?
Is it just the where can we find him question, or is it a different one? Because
it's a different question, but yeah, that's you can ask that one.
Okay, yeah, just Gormy, where can people find you? Where can we stay in touch? And for those that don't follow you, how can we follow you and keep up on everything?
Well, I would say from a social media perspective, I pretty much live on Instagram. I try other platforms. I just really can't get into it. And then I just see too much that rains negativity down into my life. So I focus on Instagram. I'm on Instagram as Gormy Goes Keto. My podcast, The Fat Guy Forum, is available on every podcast platform. I still love being able to say it's on iHeartRadio and it's on Amazon and, all the places, Spotify and all the, Apple, all the places you can find it. And new episodes every week. You can find me there. The podcast, I don't have a separate Instagram account for, just because I just never really get into that. But like I said, I'm older. So I appreciate all that I can do. But like I said, Instagram, I am on Threads and I am on X under the same name, but I very rarely check them. I also have a TikTok. I think I posted one thing, and literally every time I open TikTok, I get 80. I have 80 messages, and it's all friends that know that I'm not on TikTok sending TikTok videos to watch, and I'm literally like, stop doing this. Like, I come on here probably once every 2 months, and I don't want to watch things that you thought were funny 2 months ago. I'm really sorry, people. But Instagram and then the podcast. And you can email the podcast at thefatguyforum@gmail.com. Especially if anyone out there listening knows a guy or is a guy who wants to share their story. I'm always looking for new guests. Connect with me on Instagram. I'd love to have anyone on. I'm recording with someone tomorrow or the next day. He listened to the podcast for a couple of years and is starting a podcast of his own. And so I'm having him on to talk about his own journey and then talk about his podcast. Like, I love to cross promote, and I think there is far from a saturation of people doing this work. So I think anything we can do to hold each other up and carry each other is fantastic. And if you're interested in coaching or anything else like I'm doing along those lines, same thing. Gormy Goes Keto. You can also check out theketoroad.com. I will say, like, my coaching focuses heavily on mindset work and accountability. Some people I work with are keto. Some people I work with are not. I have 2 current clients that are people using GLP-1s. I've worked with clients that are post-bariatric before. So I'm not saying I'm all things to all people, but I do feel like the thing that I really offer is working on these things that we've been talking about for the past hour: mindset shifts, perspective shifts, building accountability. My strongest program that I probably have more people working on is called Accountability and Habit Development, because it's about building accountability in your life, not just to a coach or another person, but accountability within yourself, and working on, I'm not tangenting. I apologize for keeping talking, but
no,
I firmly believe that changing habits isn't about identifying habits that we need to break. I think it's identifying what we were using those habits for, and then finding healthy habits to take the place. And that is really freaking hard. Like, it's really hard. Like, when you turn to food for emotions, and then you have to try to figure out what you're going to do when you can't turn to food anymore. Like, know that that's hard. And if that's something people are struggling with, know that you're not alone in that struggle. And, finding things, working on that why and filling those holes in, is probably the biggest thing we can all do to guarantee our success long term. It doesn't matter what tool you're using, what avenue you went down. I've had so many people on my show. Like, I still get people, I'll be honest with you guys. I do want to share this because you are the waiting table and bariatric community focused. I still get people that send me negative feedback every time I have someone on the show who's had bariatric surgery. Giving that BS dogma of this person took the easy way out, all of that crap. And I'm like, did you not listen to anything the person on the show said? Like, did you literally not listen to that? And I think it's the same thing with everything, that tools can only do so much for us. It's really what we do with the tool. And I think every person that I've seen that has had lasting success who's had bariatric surgery is because they did all this work that we've been talking about that I did in my own journey. Like, it's not just, it's never about just changing what's on your plate. It's never about just changing what goes into your body. It's about so much more than that. Maybe for the person that needs to lose 10 pounds, and shouldn't be drinking full sugar soda, and they stop drinking full sugar soda and the 10 pounds flies off. Sure. For them, I'm glad you stopped drinking regular Coke and you picked up Coke Zero. But for most people that struggle with weight issues and have for a long time, it's about doing everything that's around that plate. And then what is going on that plate, you can figure that out along the way.
And then with the coaching, are you still running that promo right now? And so where could they just go to Gormy Goes Keto?
Yeah, so go to Gormy Goes Keto on Instagram right now for this week, pre-Labor Day. I like to be corny and use metaphors. And so it's the week before Labor Day. So I'm like, is it time for you to put the work in? So all of my coaching services, one-on-one and group coaching, are on sale, 20% off for this week. So if someone's interested in that, you can go to my profile. There's a link in there already where you can set up a free consultation call with me. And I'll say 75% of the consultation calls I have don't lead to people buying coaching. It's really just about giving a person the opportunity to talk about what they're going through and figuring out what they need. So I'm really about that. So if you're someone out there and you're like, well, I'm not interested in any of that, reach out anyway. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And I like connecting with all kinds of people.
Cool. Thank you.
And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you're doing and the fact that you invited me to come on. I'm excited.
I love this episode.
Me too.
I'm so
glad. Thank you for coming on. And it's rare that we're all this quiet and it's with we're like really like taking it all in. So this is awesome. And I'm so glad to have met you.
It was great to meet you and great to talk to you guys face to face for the first time. Yeah. I do audio. I like, honestly, it's like one of those things for me where it's like, I like to be as disheveled as possible when I'm recording my podcast. Like I'm often just like, laying in bed. And people are like, oh, do you have a studio with all this equipment set up? I'm like, no, I don't do that. I've never done that.
That's probably why people feel comfortable though, because you're so comfortable.
Yeah.
When you're in an environment like that, where you're just like chilling, it's like easier to have that open up. It makes sense.
Oh, I have people all the time that are like, so you're going to send me the questions you're going to ask? And I'm like, I haven't even thought of the questions I'm going to ask. Like, I want to think about them as we're talking,
Yes.
And I will say, Murph, as much as you were like, things didn't go great on your episode, I do think people should listen to it. I do think that it was fantastic. And I think I could tell you, I remember every episode that I think didn't go well. And yours isn't one of the ones that comes into my mind when I think about that. So,
and Murph, I feel like you should re-listen. You should re-listen to that.
Yeah,
I should. I definitely
should.
And like, I think that would be good for you to re-listen to.
I thought about that. Yeah.
And it's been a few years. You can always come back on.
Yeah.
I was just a year out of. Just a year out of surgery.
Lots changes, man.
A lot has changed since then, and I'd love to be back on the show again and update that and give it another swing. Yeah, that'd be fun.
And can I say one more thing? Because I am talking to the bariatric community right now. You don't have to hide from me that you've had bariatric surgery to get on the podcast. Because it happens. And honestly, so I asked for a bio beforehand, like with the cliff notes of a person's journey. And you can, if there was video, you'd see it in my face. Because it's not that I have specific questions I want to ask someone that had bariatric surgery. It's just I like to know the flow of the conversation, where it's going to go. And I've had several people kind of bury it and not mention it. And they don't mention it on their social media. I'm sure that's something that you all have talked about or at some point probably would talk about. And there's a lot of reasons that people do and don't. And I understand that completely. But we'll be like 20 minutes, half hour into talking. And they're like, and then I had VSG. And from there I went and I'm like, well, can we talk about that? And it's not because I want to have a gotcha moment or anything along those lines. I want to hear about it. I love hearing about people's experiences and especially with people that have had bariatric surgery, I love asking the question. Because I know personally for me, like I already said, fear of doctors, scaredy cat. It's not a decision that I ever even considered because of that crippling fear that I had. So I admire people that are like, I decided this is something that I needed and I did it and went through with this. And you hear amazing success stories, you hear horror stories, you hear all different. I mean, I've had, and I'm sure you guys have too, like people that have traveled out of the country to have their surgery, and people that have had it in the country, and people that had it. I had someone on who had it like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and it's like amazing to look at how the science has changed. And I just think hearing someone talk about the decision and then what it was like after, because what I love is there are people who are like in that next morning when I woke up, I regretted that decision. And then I'm like, well, what about now? And they're like, well, I don't regret it now. But that first month afterwards, I was like, what the heck did I get but I love when someone can be open about that, because I think that's what people need to hear. I think people need to hear that not every person who decides to have surgery, decides to use a medication, decides to do anything, decides to have liposuction, decides to have skin removal surgery. I think we make this assumption that every other human being is like these well decided, firm, confident, amazing, like motivational speaker level people when they make these decisions. And you're the only person that never felt, like, did I do the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? What am I doing? Where did this is, all of that. Every human being is like that. And that's that honestly is the full message of my show, is that no one knows all the answers, but we all, we all take different paths, but often we end up in the same place because of those things that shaped us and brought us there, and the choices we made, and all of that's the stuff that's amazing to me. Like, I've had people come on the show that say, I was this heavy and I lost 200 pounds, and all I did was I changed my diet and I started going to the gym. And I'm like, well, okay, well, what was life like for you before that? And they get very like, why do you want to talk about that? And I'm like, because it speaks to why you made the change that you did. And what is life been like after? Well, life is great. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like everyone's life sucks at some point, and I'm not, I like to say that, like, I'm not like Barbara Walters, like trying to make everyone cry, but I've had a high percentage of guests crying on the show. I do kind of love it when it happens. Not because I like seeing people cry, but because I love how something as simple as talking about weight loss drives such strong emotion and resonance in all of us. And we realize during those discussions that it is so much more than weight loss. And, it's the same thing that you guys put out there. It's like that idea that this isn't just about one step and then the next we, move on to something else. Like, it's really about however our lives shaped us and where we're going to go, and we get to control it. It's awesome.
Gormy, you're like my male counterpart. Everything you're saying, I'm like, I love making people cry. Like, you get me.
It happened when someone's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I'm like, you literally just talked about the fact that, I'm not naming names or anything along those lines, but like, you talked about the fact I had someone on who saw that their child was in danger and couldn't move fast enough to help their child, and someone else had to. And they tried to say that they shouldn't be getting upset about that. And I'm like, I'm getting upset about that. Like, I'm tearing up talking to you about this, and not because I want to exploit, but I want people to know that you're not alone in feeling like that. I'll make it funny for a second. In one of my very first episodes, I talked about the fact that at almost 550 pounds, I could not use my own hands to take care of myself in the bathroom. I had to use kitchen spoons that I got very adept at using. And it was embarrassing. Like, when I was recording that, it's part of why I re-recorded my first episode 8 times. As soon as I published that, I got flooded with messages from people saying, I deal with that right now, or I went through that, or I'm dealing with that right now and I don't know what to do. And it's understanding that sometimes it's the simplest things we don't think about that we share about these journeys that end up making the biggest impact on people. And that's why so many times I invite guys to come on the show and they say, I'm not ready to talk. I'm not, I'm not a success story. I shouldn't be someone who's talking. I'm like, but that's why you should. That's why you should talk. 1, it's going to help you. And 2, it's going to help that other person who's in the same place as you. I had one very specific guest on who hadn't made the decision yet if he was going to try to lose weight and was struggling with that. And it's someone I had talked to for years on Instagram. And he decided he wanted to talk about it on the show. And I had some people who were like, well, he needs help with this and he needs this and he just needs to make this decision. And I'm like, he'll make those decisions when he's ready to make them. Yeah. But it's the fact that there are probably another 100 people out there listening that feel the exact same way. And it's okay to not know the answers. It's okay to not feel like you know everything and that you're perfect. Like that's what I do.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I
And
love
we
it.
are thankful that you do what you do. Gormy, thank you so much for joining us. That was an amazing episode. I think there's so many pearls of wisdom and things for us to consider. But it was an honor having you on the show. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we're serving the weight loss community
1 pound at a time.
You got it. You got it.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, you guys. That was fun.
Thank you, Gormy.
Thank you.